Welcome to Off the Record, a legal podcast.
Welcome to Off the Record, a legal podcast with attorney Rhett Burney. I'm your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today we are diving into the essentials you need to know about family law in South Carolina. Rhett, great to see you again.
Kevin, always good to see you. Hope you've been well.
I have, and I hope you have been too. Let's talk divorce trends. Talk about what the divorce trends in South Carolina. Are they on the rise, decline?
No, they're on the rise. Yeah, definitely on the rise. You know, we hear that. I think it's a fake statistic. 50% of marriages end in divorce. I think it's much higher than that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I do. If I had to put my money on it, I would say I think it's about 55 to 60% of most marriages end in divorce. People are afraid of commitment. People don't want to stick around anymore. I think it's too easy to get out of a marriage.
Yeah, but there's all you can be ethically non-monogamous. There's all sorts of polyamory. There's all sorts of terms now,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Different alternatives, that's for sure. My lawyer friends and I, we joke that people are also not getting married as much as they used to. That maybe not my generation, but the next generation, there may not be any divorce lawyers because nobody gets married. So we'll see. Maybe the trend will go down just because the number of marriages go down.
I would have thought maybe that that divorce might decline a little bit just because people are waiting longer to get married. I know I waited a while and I'm glad I did because I was an idiot in my 20s. I'm glad I waited to get married. Is there's obviously, you said that they're on the rise, at least in South Carolina, they're on the rise. Why do you think that is?
I think people have grown more selfish, right? Definitely the way we communicate has gotten worse. We text things and we don't sit down and we don't talk. I think communication's the key to everything. And I think people just don't like being tied down sometimes. It's a terrible trend, really. I think families are the foundation of our society. So I hate to see it on the rise, but and it's not as taboo as it used to be. When I was growing up, there's the divorce people here, they're divorced. There weren't a lot, but now it's gotten so mainstream that it's not a scarlet A on your chest anymore if you've gotten divorced. Everybody's done it.
That's a really good point. It's definitely not the, like you said, sort of taboo thing that it once was. Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about that. That's a really interesting point.
When people didn't want to be labeled as a divorced person, people were more private, but now it's everybody's doing it. So it's not, and we see that in other things as well, right? When it's not as taboo, when it's more common, people aren't afraid to pull the trigger. And that's probably a bad thing, but I think there's a lot of truth to that.
I've been at bars before and seen divorce parties.
Yeah.
It's almost like a bachelorette party.
Yeah. A new industry, right?
Right. Yeah. We'll talk after. We'll get involved in that somehow.
That's right.
Is do-it-yourself divorce allowed in South Carolina, or is a divorce attorney required on every case?
No, you never have to have a lawyer. If you're stupid enough to do it yourself, you can do it yourself, right? You want to take out your own gallbladder, you can take out your own gallbladder. But people download the forms, and our Supreme Court in South Carolina, they provide the forms to people. I think they do themselves a disservice. I'm surprised. I think our Supreme Court did a disservice to people by giving them the forms, because that's all they are, is forms. People don't know what they're doing or what they're saying. They don't understand what the terms are, the ramifications are. But you can do it yourself. But you can also make a big mess for yourself too.
How common is it where people try to do it themselves?
It's terrible. It's I first started practicing 30 years ago next year. Nobody did it themselves. Everybody had lawyers. Now it's gotten out of hand, and it really clogs the court system, because when people don't know what they're doing, they take a lot longer to do it. So but we see it. And I love it when the person on the other side doesn't have a lawyer, because I'm not going to show them any mercy, and they're not going to know what they're doing. And you know what else? The judge doesn't treat them any differently than they would a lawyer. Same rules apply. Same procedures apply, and people come in and think the judge is going to help them walk them through it. They'll throw them out of court if they don't meet their burden of proof. So yeah, if you're that dumb, represent yourself.
That's an interesting thought. I didn't think about, because we've talked about this before, you and I, and the fact that a judge is not going to hold your hand through the process. He's going to expect you to know just as much as a lawyer if you're going to be representing yourself.
Yeah, they don't cut them any slack either. They may be more likely to cut me slack, but they're not cutting these people who represent themselves any slack, and they can't. The judge is prohibited ethically, legally, is prohibited from giving legal advice to anyone. They can't do it. They're there to make a decision. And if someone walks into the courtroom and thinks that the judge is going to tell them what to do, they're mistaken. The judge they will ask you the questions. And if you don't know what you're doing, they'll kick you out.
Wow. That's what happens then. They got to go get an attorney.
Yeah, get a lawyer, start all over.
Start back at the beginning. What other dangers are there in trying to do it alone with on your own or with an unexperienced, like more, budget friendly attorney?
Yeah. So it's kind of like, you ever seen those deer crossing signs on the highway?
Sure.
They put those up when a deer gets hit by a car. Well, you learn, right? When you're a lawyer, as you go through, you learn by your mistakes. So it's kind of the same thing. So when you get a low budget lawyer or an inexperienced lawyer, they haven't had the ability or have not taken the advantage of getting to where they need to be by going to court, by being experienced. So when people try to be cheap, do it on the cheap, they usually cost themselves a lot more.
I could see, like, if you're a couple and it's a pretty amicable divorce, you're not really contesting matters, you're not fighting, you're not doing any of that, where they might feel like, oh, we don't need to hire an attorney, we can shake this out themselves. Tell me why that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea, because they don't think about everything, right? They don't realize they have to deal with their retirement accounts. They don't realize that they're going to have to take their name off of the mortgage to the house that they're not keeping. They don't understand the ramifications of certain actions, and they don't understand it because they've never seen it before. So when you haven't seen it before, how can you really appreciate the dangers? And it's funny, I've seen some people with lots of money try to do it themselves. They think they're so smart. They're not. And when they try to do it themselves and they don't know what they don't know, they tend to walk themselves into a bad position. And sometimes, they can't get out of it.
Yeah, I definitely like to save money. Everybody does, but I would never even consider trying to do something like that by myself. Do you think that do people try this because they're just trying to save money, or do they have like a false sense of, I don't know, ability, or like, well, it's such a weird concept to me to think you could handle that.
Yeah, I think we all rely upon the internet so much that we think that we can get everything off the internet. We think that just filling out a form is the answer to all our problems. Now we've got artificial intelligence, AI, and people think that they can just put in a bunch of queries into prompts into AI and get all the answers. So I think because of we have more information available to us, that we think we're smarter than we really are, because you still have to apply that information or know how to have to apply that information. And what people don't realize, Kevin, is not only may you learn the law, but you also have to know what that particular judge likes to hear when you go in front of that judge, because every judge is different. And so when you think that you can just fill out a form or look up something on the internet, the court system doesn't work that way. It is completely different. And it's funny. It's funny going into court, someone who's not represented, just to see the deer in the headlight look, because they have no idea what they've just gotten themselves into once that judge bangs the gavel.
Yeah, it's like it's one thing to think about it as a concept. It's another thing to be standing in front of a judge and another attorney and all that.
It's intimidating, right?
Yeah.
It's intimidating. So Don't do it. Don't do it. But I love to watch it. And it's the same look every single time. It's comical.
Yeah, I use AI sometimes, and I've used, as a tool. You've mentioned before that you've used AI as well, but I will tell you, like, I've used it in podcast interviews before, just to help me kind of like figure out what a company does and give me some input and stuff like that. And it's made up stuff before. I actually asked somebody a question one time and they're like, no, we don't do that. And I was like, oh, that's nice and embarrassing. So I can imagine what people are trying to use AI to do their divorce settlement, what that could lead to.
It leads to disasters. Artificial intelligence, hey, it's just like our intelligence. There are holes in it, right? You've got it. And if you don't know something, then you can't see that there is a mistake there.
You can't verify. Yeah.
You can't verify it.
Yeah. So anyone listening, be careful. It does make stuff up sometimes.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Yep.
But it is not infallible.
Exactly. There's a reason that there's a term called hallucinations when dealing with AI. Do you have any horror stories or funny stories of people trying to handle a divorce on their own?
Yes.
You're like, where do I start?
Yeah, where do I start? Where do I start? I just like sit, I'm probably a little sick. I love going to court. And I kind of love watching this disaster, this train wreck happening, just to watch the other side get up there and present their case and have no idea what they're doing. And sometimes all I do is just make a motion to dismiss because they haven't proved their case. I don't say anything, right? And just sit down and be quiet. And I just like watching it. I just like watching that disaster. And again, it's probably sick in certain ways, but it happens. It happens every day. And the judges hate it. The bailiffs who are in there hate it. They hate seeing people walk in who don't have lawyers. It's a disaster.
Yeah, I could imagine. Like for every time that you're like, oh wow, this is gonna be funny, the judge is just like, oh my God, no.
Yeah, I think secretly, because they have what we call a pro se, self-represented docket, where they just line them up back to back to back to back. And I've not verified this, but I'm pretty sure that the judges probably just flip a coin to see who's going to have to deal with it, because it has to be painful.
Yes. It totally does. I mean, you're used to talking to people who understand the law, and
Yeah.
now you have to talk to people who completely do not understand the law.
Yeah, they don't. We talk certain lingo, right? Have to follow certain procedures, and if it doesn't happen, then the judge just has to limp through it and deal with it, and it's painful for them.
If your divorce is contentious, it feels like then that is even more important to have. Then it's even more important to have an attorney on your side. Can you talk about why it's especially important for a contentious divorce?
Yeah, especially contentious divorce. Well, you have a voice of reason in the room with an experienced lawyer. They can direct you where you should go. They've been in front of these judges before, and we get a pretty good indication of how a judge. We can't guess 100% of how a judge will rule everything, but we get a pretty good idea. We can give you a range of risk that without a lawyer, you're not going to know. We can advise you on what you should and shouldn't do. And if you're in a contentious divorce and the emotions are running high, you may need that professional in the room to kind of bring you back down to earth, kind of center you a little bit to make sure that you don't do something that's going to hurt you in the end.
When things get contentious, when your client is, I don't know, angry, emotional, really emotional, how do you handle that to try to reel them in a bit?
Yeah, lots of times clients get mad at their lawyer because their lawyer tells them something that they don't want to hear, right? And I tell them, I've gotten more blunt as I've gotten older. Do you want me to lie to you and give you bad advice? Or do you want to get the advice that you're paying me for? You're paying me lots of money, lots of good money to tell you good advice. So, when they're getting out of hand, I tell them, hey, look, you're making this more expensive for yourself. You're making this more difficult for yourself. Is that really what you want to do? And I think that's a lawyer's job. I mean, we do more than just stand up in court, ask questions, and present evidence. We're counselors as well. It's our job to reel our clients back in. Some you can't. There's just some unreasonable people out there. But experienced lawyers, you listen to them. You're going to listen to your doctor, right? If you go to your doctor and he says, Kevin, you need to go have this checked out because if you don't, you may die. You're not going to argue with him. No, right? No. You're going to go do it. Lawyers we do the same thing. It may not be a life or death situation, but it's your money, it's your child, it's your future. So they need to listen to you.
It's probably one of the biggest moments or things to happen to you in your entire life.
It's got to be. It's got to be, right? Everybody hates public speaking. Getting married is a big deal. Moving is a big deal. Going to court, that's got to be up there because people, if you don't do it every day, you're just not used to it. It's stressful.
Yeah. Tell me about the complexities of divorce-related matters, including custody, support matters, and why having a divorce attorney makes a big difference in that in those cases.
Yeah, because we can think outside the box. When I start counseling a client, I ask them, what do you want? And we can kind of compare it to what the other side wants. Lots of times we send offers back and forth. But because we do this every day, we can think outside the box. We can give them other options. We can be very creative to help take care of some of these complexities, like in a custody visitation situation. We can offer other suggestions that may make more sense to their particular circumstance. What people forget is there is not a cookie cutter solution to everybody's life, right? Everybody's life is different. I can't tell you how many times I have people come into my office and say, well, my cousin had a divorce and this is how it turned out. I'm like, great. But did your cousin have this scenario or this set of facts? Every case is different. They're never the same. There's some similarities, right? But what we do as attorneys is we look at all the different factors of the divorce. You're going through the division of assets, the division of debts, retirement accounts, alimony, child support, custody, visitation, and we have to deal with all of those things. And we try to bring them all in under an umbrella and solve it and give our clients different options. Hey, did you think that maybe you need to be the one dropping the children off because it makes sense with your schedule? Or instead of taking the IRA, why don't you take the 401k? Or you know what? Do you really want the house? Can you really afford the house? If you thought, hey, we're dealing with 7% interest rates, I don't think your budget's going to allow for that. So, we're kind of holistic in lots of ways.
Yeah, I would imagine that people come in with some pretty lofty expectations or at least hopes, and you have to kind of be the, I don't know if you want to call it the bad guy, but the honest guy, the guy with the knowledge, the guy who's going to tell you how it's really going to go.
Yeah, we have to. If you're a good lawyer, you have to. There are lawyers out there that let their clients run the show. And I don't see that as our job. I think we have to reel in those expectations because people watch too many movies, people watch too many TV, people let their friends and family members, steer the way they think they're going to go. Everybody thinks they have the best case, and they don't. Sometimes they do, but they just don't. Everybody thinks the judge is going to see it their way. That's just not reality. It really isn't. And it's our job as a lawyer to bring them back to earth and to set those expectations, because when we set those expectations really early, it helps the case get resolved quickly.
And then again, like you said, comparing to your cousin or online, I mean, everyone's going to start going online and digging into how a divorce might go. And then they might go, oh, well, this is the average, so I should be able to get this. And then, the more researched they are, probably the more talking you have to do to them about why that research might not be correct.
Oh, yeah, every time. And it's kind of like you going to your doctor and wanting him to help you, but you don't tell him the whole story, right? When somebody goes online and they read and get some advice from online, well, that they don't have all the information that you're looking for because they don't know your particular case. And every case is different. It just simply is. Usually the only thing that a divorce case has in common with every other divorce case is they're dealing with a married couple that doesn't want to be married anymore. And that's about the only similarity that we're dealing with. So yeah, every case is different. And, people tend to get bad advice. I can't tell you, Kevin, how many times, a client has come in, they say, my mom said this, or my dad says this, and they'll listen to their mom or dad before they listen to the lawyer who's done it 10,000 times. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being pretty frustrating for you. Well, thank you for tuning in to Off the Record, a legal podcast with attorney Rhett Burney. For more information or to connect with Rhett, you can visit rhettburney.com. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Rhett, always great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Kevin, have a great evening. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.